Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin is going to be joining Ivanka Trump in New Hampshire today to tout the benefits of tax reform. But first, he is talking to us right here on CNBC. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you.
It's great to see you. Tax day is a big day. We know that this is the last time people will be using the old system, that people are already getting ready for the new system. But maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you're seeing so far under this new system.
Well, we're seeing very strong economic growth. We literally have met with hundreds of executives, small companies, big companies, and thousands of workers. And we're beginning to see the impact of the tax cuts, specifically people investing large amounts of money back into the United States.
We know it's very early days, but maybe you could tell us a little bit about the tax receipts that you're seeing. And again, we understand that the projections would be down at this part of the year from where we were a year ago based on these changes. But what are you seeing? Are they meeting your projections?
I think it's a little too early to predict what the tax receipts. We'll have a better idea over the course of the week. But so far, things are coming in as expected. And again, what we really should be focused on is economic growth, not tax receipts, because I think, as you know, we front-loaded the growth into the tax plan. So because of automatic expensing, which is one of the most powerful parts of the tax plan, we will see lower revenues in the short term because people are using the depreciation to encourage investment.
I focus on the tax receipts just because it's something, when you look at budget deficits, that's going to be something that people take into account. Again, understanding that projections are for it to drop initially, are they meeting your projections?
They are. As Mick just talked about, you know, we're now at a point where we're comfortable with our 3% or higher sustained economic growth. That's not about any one quarter. There will be quarters where we're lower and quarters where we're higher. But we're comfortable on track. And the difference between 2.2 and 3% will pay for the tax cuts.
There are so many areas that you're involved in, issues that are coming out of Washington every day that affect Wall Street, issues like sanctions, issues like trade, and maybe we can focus on trade for a little bit. We have seen trade concerns ratcheted up, particularly with the Chinese, but you've been kind of in the middle of saying, look, we could have a negotiation that works out. What can you tell us on that front right now?
Well, I think, as you know, the president's economic plan has always consisted of three parts: tax reform, regulatory relief, and trade. And trade is an important component of that. I have the IMF and World Bank meetings coming up this week. I'll be meeting with all my counterparts. We've been talking about these issues for the last year, so we have complete transparency. The president believes in free and fair reciprocal trade, and we're trying to get good deals for American companies equivalent to what others have here. That's really what this is all about.
Wall Street has detected a change in tenor on those trade talks. Is that something that is perceived at the high level that you're dealing with? Is there a change in the tenor, or is this a continuation of what you've been doing for the last year?
Well, again, I think it's a focused strategy that the president has been very clear on. We've had an integrated plan. I speak to Ambassador Lighthizer almost every day. I speak to the president almost every day about these issues. We now have Larry, who's on board. He's a terrific part of the team, as you know. Secretary Ross. So these are coordinated efforts. Again, as you know, we've been in dialogue with our counterparts in China about reciprocal trade there. We're speaking to the EU. So we have a lot of focus on this, and the president is very determined to make sure that we have free trade.
In Davos, the president said, I'm thinking about TPP, maybe reopening. Then, you know, we went a few months and nothing was done. And people said, see, I told you nothing would happen. Then we hear that he asked Lighthizer and who else did he ask to look? Larry. To look into it. Is that ongoing? Has anything been done? You said you speak to Lighthizer a lot. Do you know anything about the reception that's receiving by the 11 members that are already in the TPP? Is it possible that happens?
Sure. Well, again, let me just say, I think it was a big announcement in Davos where the president said he'd reconsider entering, but he would only do that under better terms. We've quietly had some conversations with our counterparts about what the issues are. Of the 11 people in TPP, we have free trade agreements or trade agreements with many of them. The president's obviously at Mar-a-Lago today. He'll be talking with Japan about trade. That's one of the issues that will be on the agenda. Japan is obviously one of the big participants, and we're focused on our trade relationship with them. That's a big part of the TPP right now.
Does China have anything to do with this new interest in joining the TPP, would you say?
No. No, it's really, it's independent. And again, the president has been consistent. He'll only join TPP under a different deal.
You handicap it at 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3. What are the chances we end up in TPP?
I don't really handicap it because it's not a major focus of ours.
Better than 50-50?
I'm not going to handicap it. What I'd say is it's not a question of whether we're in or we're not in. The real question is kind of, will we make the progress on trade that we want? And I'm comfortable that we will. We're going kind of partner by partner addressing these issues. And again, this isn't about protectionism. This isn't about, tariffs. This is about making sure that we have free and fair reciprocal trade.
We always got to talk to you about the dollar.
Why not?
No, but the other, and the president tweets, and some people say, oh, that's just a tweet. But, when a president puts anything out, you got to take it somewhat, maybe not literally, but take it seriously. So he talked about Russia and China both being currency devaluers. I mean, we put sanctions on Russia. The ruble's been, that's kind of, we devalued their ruble.
It's counter to what we saw from a Treasury report last week, where China was not labeled a manipulator.
Right, but that sounds like the president wishes the dollar.
No, that's not the case. It was a warning. It was a warning shot at China and Russia about devaluation. China has devalued their currency in the past. Matter of fact, through 2016, they devalued it significantly. Starting in 2017, right after the president was elected, they've used a lot of their reserves to actually support the currency. So, the president wants to make sure they don't change these plans, and he's watching it.
Although the Treasury report from just a few days ago said that China recently has been very actively trying to prop up its currency and not let it fall below those issues. Well,
that's why I said it's a warning shot to make sure that China doesn't devalue the currency as they have in the past.
Okay. You're not handicapping anything for me. Can you handicap the likelihood that some of the most punitive tariffs actually go into effect, or does something happen to solve some of these issues before then?
I'm not in the handicap business.
Are you optimistic? Larry Kudlow seems to think that, Larry always is sort of talking all these people down off a ledge about trade wars. Are you optimistic that there's a method to what's happening here? I mean, no one wants to trade.
I am completely. Larry and I were together yesterday. We were with the president. As I said, he's integrally involved in these discussions and all the specifics. And, as I've used the word, I'm cautiously optimistic, and you'll know when we have a deal.
If you go anywhere else, we hope you don't, but you could say I'm optimistically cautious if you want. You can just interchange those as a Treasury Secretary, just in your quiver. Just
okay, well, the only place I'm going to go differently is next time you come to Washington, we'll host you at the Treasury.
Really?
Deal.
Absolutely.
We're there.
You guys get that? Is that on? Are we
so
live?
Tony will book the date
still
for
live? Good. That'd be great. Really?
We'd love to have you.
Okay.
Secretary Mnuchin, want to thank you very much for your time. It's always a pleasure.
Great to be here with you both.
Great to see you too.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.